What if I told you that one of the most chilling dystopian novels ever written predicted our current political climate with terrifying accuracy? Today, we're diving deep into Margaret Atwood's masterpiece, The Handmaid's Tale, a book that has become more relevant with each passing year. This isn't just another book summary, this is your complete guide to understanding why this novel has captivated millions and sparked countless debates about freedom, power, and resistance. Published in 1985, The Handmaid's Tale stands as Margaret Atwood's most influential and controversial work, establishing her as one of literature's most prescient voices. Set in the near-future Republic of Gilead, formerly the United States, this dystopian masterpiece explores themes of reproductive rights, religious extremism, and systematic oppression through the eyes of Offred, a handmaid forced into reproductive servitude. Atwood crafted this haunting narrative during the rise of the religious right in 1980s America, drawing inspiration from historical events including Puritan New England, Nazi Germany, and contemporary theocratic regimes. The author's meticulous research and attention to historical precedent lend the novel its disturbing plausibility, as every element of Gilead's oppressive system has roots in real-world events. The novel's impact extends far beyond literature, influencing political discourse, feminist movements, and popular culture. Its adaptation into a critically acclaimed television series has introduced new generations to Atwood's vision, while demonstrating the story's continued relevance in contemporary society. The distinctive red robes and white bonnets worn by handmaids have become powerful symbols of resistance against reproductive oppression worldwide. Atwood's genius lies in her ability to create a world that feels both alien and familiar, forcing readers to confront uncomfortable truths about power, complicity, and the fragility of democratic institutions. The novel serves as both warning and call to action, reminding us that freedom requires constant vigilance. The Handmaid's Tale follows Offred, whose real name we never learn, as she navigates life in the totalitarian Republic of Gilead. Following environmental disasters and plummeting birth rates, a fundamentalist regime has overthrown the United States government, establishing a theocratic state where fertile women are enslaved as handmaids, forced to bear children for the ruling class. Offred serves in the household of Commander Fred Waterford and his wife Serena Joy, participating in monthly ceremonies where she must have ritualized intercourse with the commander while lying between Serena's legs. This degrading ritual, based on the biblical story of Rachel and Bilhah, strips away humanity and reduces women to mere reproductive vessels. Through flashbacks, we learn about Offred's previous life with her husband Luke and daughter Hannah, all destroyed when the regime seized power. Her attempts to escape with her family failed, resulting in separation and her conscription into the Handmaid program. These memories haunt her present existence, providing both torment and motivation for survival. The narrative unfolds through Offred's internal monologue as she observes the rigid hierarchies and brutal enforcement mechanisms of Gilead. She witnesses public executions, participates in group condemnations of supposed traitors, and gradually discovers an underground resistance movement called Mayday. Her relationship with the commander becomes increasingly complex as he seeks companionship beyond their prescribed interactions, while his wife Serena Joy orchestrates secret meetings between Offred and Nick, the household's driver, hoping to circumvent her husband's apparent sterility. The novel concludes ambiguously as Offred steps into a van that may represent either rescue by the resistance or capture by the authorities, leaving her ultimate fate uncertain and emphasizing the precarious nature of hope under totalitarian rule. The establishment of Gilead represents the novel's foundational catastrophe, achieved through a carefully orchestrated coup that exploits environmental and social crises. The Sons of Jacob, a fundamentalist group, assassinate the president and Congress while simultaneously freezing all women's bank accounts and stripping them of employment rights. This methodical approach to oppression demonstrates how quickly democratic institutions can crumble when citizens become complacent about their freedoms. The implementation of the handmaid system reveals the regime's systematic dehumanization of women. Fertile women are rounded up, separated from their families, and sent to re-education centres where they undergo psychological conditioning. The aunts, older women who oversee this process, use biblical justification and brutal punishment to break down individual identity and resistance. This process illustrates how oppressive systems often co-opt members of marginalised groups to maintain control. Offred's failed escape attempt with her family serves as a crucial turning point, demonstrating both the regime's reach and the devastating consequences of resistance. Their capture at the Canadian border results in Luke's uncertain fate, Hannah's placement with a new family, and Offred's classification as a handmaid. This event establishes the personal stakes driving Offred's narrative and highlights how totalitarian regimes deliberately destroy family bonds to maintain power. The monthly ceremony represents the novel's most disturbing ritual, combining religious justification with systematic rape. Offred must lie between Serena Joy's legs while the commander performs the act, creating a grotesque parody of intimacy that serves the state's reproductive goals. This ceremony embodies the regime's reduction of women to biological functions while maintaining the pretense of religious sanctity. The relationship between Offred and the commander evolves beyond their prescribed roles, revealing the contradictions within Gilead's power structure. Their secret meetings in his study, where they play Scrabble and discuss forbidden topics, demonstrate how even the regime's architects crave authentic human connection. These encounters provide insight into the commander's psychology while highlighting the arbitrary nature of the rules he helps enforce. Serena Joy's manipulation of Offred reflects the complex dynamics between women within Gilead's hierarchy. Once a prominent advocate for traditional values, Serena now lives as a prisoner of the ideology she helped create. Her arrangement for Offred to sleep with Nick reveals her desperation for a child and willingness to violate Gilead's laws when it serves her interests. The discovery of the resistance movement, May Day, offers hope while emphasising the dangers of organised opposition. Through Ovglen and other contacts, Offred learns about covert networks working to undermine the regime. However, the constant threat of discovery and the brutal consequences for captured resistors underscore the personal cost of fighting tyranny. The novel's ambiguous ending, with Offred entering the van without knowing her destination, encapsulates the uncertainty that defines life under totalitarian rule. Whether she faces rescue or execution remains unknown, forcing readers to confront the reality that resistance offers no guarantees of success or survival. Key takeaways. The erosion of rights rarely happens overnight, but through gradual, seemingly reasonable restrictions that accumulate until freedom disappears entirely. Atwood demonstrates how the Sons of Jacob exploit crises to implement increasingly draconian measures, each justified as temporary or necessary for security. Modern readers can recognise similar patterns in how democratic institutions face threats during times of social upheaval. Language serves as both a tool of oppression and resistance, with totalitarian regimes carefully controlling vocabulary to shape thought and behaviour. The elimination of words like sterile and the creation of new terms like unwomen demonstrate how linguistic manipulation can alter perception of reality. Understanding this dynamic empowers individuals to recognise and resist attempts to manipulate public discourse. The complicity of ordinary citizens enables totalitarian systems to function, as most people choose passive acceptance over active resistance. Atwood shows how individuals justify their cooperation through self-preservation, ideology, or simple convenience. This insight challenges readers to examine their own potential for complicity when faced with systemic injustice. Religious and ideological extremism becomes dangerous when it gains political power and attempts to impose its vision on entire populations. Gilead's theocratic system demonstrates how sacred texts can be manipulated to justify oppression while silencing dissent through claims of divine authority. This lesson remains relevant as societies grapple with the role of religion in public life. The systematic oppression of women serves broader authoritarian goals by undermining social solidarity and individual agency. By reducing women to reproductive functions, Gilead weakens family bonds and eliminates potential sources of resistance. This strategy reveals how attacks on specific groups often serve larger projects of social control. Environmental destruction and social inequality create conditions that extremist movements exploit to gain power. The fertility crisis in Gilead emerges from pollution and social breakdown, providing justification for radical solutions. Understanding this connection helps explain how environmental and social justice issues intersect with political stability. Memory and storytelling become acts of resistance when official narratives attempt to erase inconvenient truths. Offred's determination to remember her past life and tell her story preserves alternative perspectives that challenge Gilead's version of reality. This insight emphasises the importance of protecting diverse voices and historical accuracy. The psychological impact of oppression includes both obvious trauma and subtle changes in behaviour and thought patterns. Offred's gradual adaptation to Gilead's rules while maintaining inner resistance illustrates how individuals navigate impossible situations. Recognising these psychological dynamics helps us understand both the victims and perpetrators of systematic oppression. Hope and resistance persist even under the most oppressive conditions, often taking unexpected forms and requiring tremendous courage. The existence of May Day and individual acts of defiance demonstrate that human dignity cannot be completely extinguished. This message provides inspiration while acknowledging the real costs of standing up to tyranny. Education and critical thinking serve as crucial defences against manipulation and propaganda. Gilead's success depends partly on limiting access to information and alternative perspectives. Maintaining intellectual curiosity and questioning official narratives becomes essential for preserving freedom and human dignity. Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale transcends its dystopian genre to become an essential text for understanding power, resistance, and human dignity in the face of oppression. Through Offred's haunting narrative, readers experience the gradual erosion of freedom and the psychological toll of living under totalitarian rule. The novel's enduring relevance stems from Atwood's masterful ability to ground speculative fiction in historical reality, creating a world that feels both fantastical and frighteningly plausible. The book's greatest strength lies in its refusal to offer easy answers or comfortable reassurances. Instead, it challenges readers to confront difficult questions about complicity, resistance, and the price of freedom. By presenting oppression through personal experience rather than abstract political theory, Atwood creates an emotional connection that makes the novel's warnings impossible to ignore. Contemporary readers will find particular resonance in the novel's exploration of how democratic institutions can be undermined from within, how crisis can be exploited to justify authoritarian measures, and how ordinary people can become complicit in systematic oppression. These themes speak directly to current political anxieties, while offering historical perspective on the fragility of human rights. Ultimately, The Handmaid's Tale serves as both warning and call to action, reminding us that freedom requires constant vigilance and that resistance, however costly, remains both possible and necessary. In our current moment of global democratic backsliding, Atwood's masterpiece provides essential insights into the nature of power and the enduring human capacity for both oppression and liberation.